Hi folks, this is the link to the zip file that I'm asking you to download is this classics number 5 start-version 4. This is the version that I had to update with it. Ignore all the other stuff, you don't have that. But this is the one I like for you to download and with the class exercise for me, okay? It's the version 4. So one of the things after you extract the file to your local drive with it, I'd like for you to, I gave you these files. There's nothing to be done on the index.html with it. We're going to start out with some of the basic files, such as your, the easiest one is, I have the file name for you. So just follow along and click on the file and start coding in the file with it. Please do not move the file around with it because the path through these files are all interconnected to one another with it. So I gave you kind of like an empty shell to one of these files, or all the files with it. The first file you're going to start out with is the app CSS. Let me show you what the process would look like before you start coding this. Hold on. So let me bring this in here with it. So for class exercise number 5, this is the sequence. I should have put this in numeric order and top down with it. You're going to start with number 1, and number 2, and then number 3 in the sequence with it, number 4, and number 5 if you want to take a note with it as well. So the app file, the app CSS, is probably the lowest hanging fruit. This is the only style sheet that you're going to be coding. The second, there's a total of 5 files you need to complete for class exercise number 5. All right, app CSS. The second one is the index.js with it, which is this one right here, index.js with it. And then you just follow the sequence here. And then the third one is the apps.js with it. All these, they're just empty coding with it as well. So just remove, just follow along and code it exactly how I would ask you to code. Don't do any of the comments in here. Just leave everything off of it. Just code exactly what I asked you to do. All right. So you don't have to do any of the comments. Do not comment or put any headers in this at all. All right. So because it's very, very confusing, and the compiler, I'm having a lot of issues with the new library files coming in. It's updating with the router and the routes with it as well, and yeah, so I had to add in a few library files to make this work for it. But do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the order of the sequence that we're going to do this the coding of the files with it as well. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so let's pull together and let's start coding this with it. So out of these 5 files, let me start out with the lowest hanging fruit. The easiest one to start talking about is the app.cs with it, and this is probably, let's knock this one out first because it's probably the easiest one to do with it. So this is the one right here with it. So if you can follow along with me with an this is a .css. So it's an external CSS that needs to be pulled in from the other files. As far as Cascade style sheet goes, is that it formats your layout for your page, for your and how the form. You still need to do some formatting. I mean, CSS doesn't, the React JavaScript doesn't do that for you with it. So the first thing I need for you to do is the class. You start out with a class that's called dot as a class with it, uppercase A, PP, and let's give it a definition of curly brackets with it. It looks like that, and we give it an attribute of width. Take advantage of your IntelliSense with it. Hit tab and these type of stuff, and it fills it in there with you. We're going to give it 100% with it, and then we're going to give it a height of auto with it, right? So, and then we're going to give it a display of flex, and we're going to give a flex direction of column with it, and we're going to give it, inside of this, we're going to give a font family of Arial, Helvetica sans serif with it. So what this means is that every time when I use this class name, remember now in React JavaScript we don't call it class anymore, it's going to be class name with it. When we use the app class name, these are the properties that I want it to appear in the page with it. The second definition I like for you to give is the body element. This is an element, so anytime we use the body element for this thing with it, we're going to come in, we're going to give it a padding of 0, and we're going to give it a margin of 0. So this way it will give us kind of pushes everything to that border in your browser with it as well. That's it. So here's my app.css has a little white circle, or depending on what your theme is. Control S saves it. You knocked out one of the 5 files already. So that's this one right here with it. So So I want you to take a look at this right here, and really look at it and kind of pause the screen. Make sure you don't have any syntax error or squiggly lines underneath this with as well. So a lot of this I did already in styles for you. You don't have to do any of these because I gave you the styles for each one of these sections in here already with it, right? It would take another 3 hours if I went in and I had you type all that stuff in there with it as well. So this is the shortest one. I thought it would be really good to use this for you as well with it. So pause if you want to, and we'll pick up in a second with it. Okay, so that's what the app.css file looks like with it. The second file that we're going to actually tackle is the index. I'm just put a 1 here. Doesn't mean anything. We're not with it. So I'm going to do the second one is the index with it, index.js with it, which is the next file is this one right here. So I'm going to have that open with it. So out the sections with it as well. All right. So the first thing I need for you to do is to have that header in all of them, right? You're going to import, and remember these import, they're like your dependencies with it. So import React, and here's the nice thing is I should have showed you this a few minutes ago with it. So if you did something like RAFC and you did this, you see how fast that came in? I forgot to show you that, because if you did RAFC by when you install this is the plugin ES7, make sure it's by DSZ Nether. Okay, can you see it? Make sure you have this thing installed. If you have this plugin installed to it, later on you could always go to your file and you type in what I just showed you is let me do that again. RAFC. Okay, I hit this right here, RAFC. I hit enter. It writes my import statements for me. It does a lot of stuff with you that you render with it. It just helps your coding for this at this time with it. So yeah. Sorry, let me pause for a second. But this is not what I want you to put in, by the way, for the index.js with it. I just want to introduce you to that little shortcut that you can do with it as well. But for the index.js with it, we need to bring in some dependency, importing some files before we load into load the file with it. So it's import. If you can do import for me, the React DOM model with it, this one right here. So import that one in for it. You know why this has a little squiggly liner behind it? You saw that? I need to put a semicolon. It's like a punctuation for that. So React from React DOM with it, and this needs to be DOM. It looks like this, and click out of it and put a semicolon after that with it. So syntax in programming is a punctuation basically with it. It's like a period in a sentence with it. All right. So you need to be able to do a lot of this stuff as you come across with it. And you saw how this came in with it as well. So let let me just, I don't know why I put that curly brackets there for the time being with it, but this is what I like for you to have with it. So import React DOM from React DOM, and is in a quotation, not this part. It makes a big difference, by the way. So I don't know why it kind of does that. Already I'm stumbling here. So import React from React is the first library file. The second library file is import React DOM. Same spelling, uppercase, the R and the D for me, from the React-DOM for me with it in a semicolon. The third one we need to import in is the app. Okay, this app JS right here. So both of these files are going to be talking to each other. In React JavaScript, you don't have to put the file extension. It knows to pick up the JS after it. So you need to tell it where it's from, import from, and double quotes, and the single dot basically tells it to look inside the same directory. Now I wanted to demonstrate this to you in a DOS environment. Is when you create a directory, there's two subdirectories that actually takes place, a single dot and a dot dot. So the dot, meaning the single dot with it, which I have here, is to look inside your same directories where you're in right now with it, and a / and change it to, and it picks up the app with it as well. Come to the right of it, put a semicolon with it as well. So you have 3 lines right now, 7, 8, and 9. That's your import state. Make sure they don't have any squiggly lines or nothing like that with it. So I want to pull that in with it. So the other thing is we need to come in and do the React DOM command with it, and we're going to render. Now, if you remember, the render before was we put in a parentheses, what you're rendering and where you're rendering it. Remember this from class exercise 2 and 3 before this, 3 and 4 before this. So I talked to you about in 2 and 4 what you're rendering you put here with it. So I'm gonna, once you do this like I have right here with it, there's this little container you can put because I'm gonna have more content in here, so I'm going to hit enter in here. It just makes it read a little easier with it. So I'm going to do React this time I'm going to use the strict mode with it, and inside of that we're going to actually render the app. If you hit tab, and the way how you call that function app, meaning the app, this JS app right here is this. That's the content of this file index.js is going to render whatever this app, this import app that you put in here. It's going to go here. Okay. Guess where this index.js is going to point to? It's going to point to the index.html. Can you connect all that pieces together for me? So the app.js is loaded in your index.js, and your index.js is going to load in, point, and render the content into the index.html. Okay, so make sure you have that flow and that connection, how it works with it. Let me repeat. The app.js, which is, you haven't done anything yet with it, it's going to go to the content you're pulling from here. Is going to go into the index.js. The index.js is going to render its content into the ID root of your index.html. Okay, you have to know that. Make sure you understand that, because on the exam I want to ask you that. Okay, all right. So make sure you understand that. So after the strict mode, it's like that comma. Okay. Now after that comma, you're going to tell it to do document.get element by ID. Alright, and you're going to tell it to where to put this. So it's go under the root. This is where your HTML comes into it, and you come to the right of that quote, right of the parenthesis, and put a semicolon for me. So I want you to take a few seconds at this time. Pause the video if you need to, because it's 13, almost 14 minutes here. I want to stop this video, the segment right here. I don't want to go beyond 15 minutes.